specialist Dr. Jackson Crawford. I teach at the University of Colorado Boulder, previously at UC Berkeley and UCLA. In this video, I'm going to continue my read-through of Grímnismál from the Poetic Edda. I assume that if you are watching this video, you've probably watched the previous videos about Grímnismál in this series, as it is sequential. However, if you have not, let me direct you to the first video in this series, which explains that the text that I follow is based on the Codex Regius text. I don't incorporate or don't base my readings off of AM 748 1 quarto unless that manuscript has a clearly superior reading. Number two, I use reconstructed Old Norse medieval pronunciation, not modern Icelandic pronunciation. And number three, the manuscript is not written in runes. The runes that you will see are produced by me in late Viking Age Younger Futhark and are simply there because so many people have requested that. This installment begins with stanza 37. Orvakr og alsvíður, þeir skulu upp heðan svangir sól draga, en þeirra bógum fólu blíð regin, æsir ísarnkól. So, Orvakr and Alsvíður, they shall up from here, up heðan, they are slender, svangir, and up from here they shall drag or draw, move the sun, sol. And under their shoulders or withers, bogum, the happy gods, blíð regin, hid, folu, that is the third person preterite plural from fella, to hide. The Asir, another word for gods, the iron cooler, Isarn Kol, the bellows. So we have these two horses, Orvakr and Alsvíður, who draw the sun from here, quote unquote, and under their withers, the gods hid some bellows. Now, it is interesting to note that this word Isarn is a very archaic form of the word for iron in the Germanic languages. Typically, in Old Norse, we see Jorn, but Isarn is almost identical to the Gothic word. And this poetic form of the word for iron occurs mostly in poetry. Stanza 38. Svol heitir, han stendur solu fyrir, sköldur skínanda góði. Björg og brim, ek veit at brenna skulu, ef han fellur í fró. So, it is named, he is named, she is named, heitir, Svol. He, all right, that gives us a masculine identity. He is named Svol. He stands before the sun, stendur fyrir solu. A shield, skjoldur, for the shining god, skínanda góði. This is for because skínanda góði is dative. Now, it's interesting that Svol should be masculine. Clearly, we should read Han here because the manuscript has the typical Old Norse abbreviation for he, Han, which we see all over the Poetic Edda and so many other manuscripts. It's an H with some extra doodles on it. Svol, however, looks like the feminine form of the adjective svalr, which means cool, which would make sense as some kind of a shield that protects the earth from the sun, based on what we see in the last half of the stanza. The rocks and surf, björk og brim, I know that they shall burn if he falls from there. We can provide. So often the object of the preposition isn't stated in Old Norse. So I know that those things will burn if he falls from there. And ifro, in from, very common expansion to the simple preposition fro, and in fact it's almost standard in a lot of dialects of Swedish and Norwegian. Stanza 39. Skol heitir úlfur, fylgir skýr leita góði til varna vidar. En annar hatti, hann þróð vitnissonar, svo skal fyr heiða brúði himmins. Skoll is named a wolf who follows the bright-looking god, again talking about the sun, for defense of wood, or to the defense of wood. So follows the sun till it reaches the defense of woods, i.e. the trees, when it sets in the west into the forests. Clearly written from the perspective of someone who doesn't live on a west coast. But another is Hati, and Anar Hati. He is son of Hroðvitnir, a name that we know is Fenrir's. Hroðvitnir, Vitnir we've seen before actually in Grímnismál, meaning monster. Hroð means famous, so this is famous monster, and it's a reference to Fenrir. That one shall before, so shall go before. So often verbs of movement are not expressed in Old Norse, especially in poetry. That one shall go before the bright bride of heaven, Heiða brúði himins, which is again the sun, because the sun is feminine. Different people have interpreted this different ways, based on how Snorri describes this in the prose Edda. My general reading is that Skoll is following the sun and is going to eat it, but Hati is going before, in front of the sun, and is going to eat the moon. And this represents the myth of eclipses. Stanza 40. Or ymis holdi var jörð skopuð, en or sveita sær, björg or beinum, badmar or hori, and or hausi himin. Out of Ymir's flesh, or ymis holdi, was earth shaped or created. And here we have of course, a common filler word in Old Norse poetry. But out of sweat, sveta, from sveti, this often means blood in poetry, so we should probably read it that way. But out of his blood, the sea, the hills or rocks, out of bones, tree, out of hair, and out of skull, heaven. Stanza 41. En or hans brom gerðu blíð regin Miðgarð manna sonum. En or hans heila voru þau in harðmóðgu sky ól skopuð. And out of his brows or eyelashes, the happy gods, we see this again as in a previous stanza, made Midgard, the world of men, the middle enclosure for the sons of men, i.e. for human beings, men. And out of his brain, they made the clouds, ski, were all of the hard-mooded, so the sort of evil or tough-minded clouds were all shaped. Stanza 42. Ullar hylli hefur og allra góða, where tekur hustur of una, því at opnir heimar verða ósasonum, þó hefja af hvera. So let me start with line 3. Who takes first on the fire? Now remember that Odin, or Grimnir, in this context is imprisoned between fires. And to take on a fire apparently means to put it out. So whoever first puts out the fire, this is Odin, kind of switching out of his trance of seeing all these different worlds and speaking of his own situation for a moment. Whoever puts out the fire has the favor of Ullr, this little-known god, and of all the gods, ok allra goda, genitive plural. And then the last half of the stanza is pretty unclear, because open worlds or open homes happen for the sons of Asir, so for the sons of the gods, so for the gods, those who lift off boiling kettles. So what's strange is that it seems like the favor, the open worlds or open homes, comes to the gods, but he's asking a human, presumably, since that's the person he's talking to lift off, to put out the fire. But there's no boiling kettle that we know of in this situation. There's possibly something corrupt about this last half of the stanza, something that's gone wrong in its transmission to the manuscripts in the 1200s, 1300s that we first find it written in. Stanza 43. Ivaldasunir gengu I ordaga, skíðblatni at skapa. Skipa betst, skirum froi, nutum njarðarbúr. Now in the Poetic Edda, none of the poems actually tell us in detail about the creation of the gods' treasures. But this is told of in Snorri's Prose Edda in the part called Skóldskaparmál. And we know that the dwarves that made many of these treasures were the sons of Ivaldi. So Ivaldi's sons went in early days, the Ordaga, to shape or create Skíðblatnir, the best of ships for bright Freyr, the useful son of Njordr. And that does parallel the story in the Prose Edda. Stanza 44. Askr Yggdrasils, han utstur vida, en skíðblatnir skipa, óðin Åsa, en Jóa Sleipnir, Bílrost brúa, en Bragi skólda, Hóbrók hauka, en Hunda garmur. So, Yggdrasil's ash, and we've seen it referred to this way before in this poem, rather than just as Yggdrasil, the ash tree of Yggdrasil. It is because the ash tree is masculine, the best or noblest of woods, i.e. of trees, and Skíðblatnir of ships, Odin of Asir, i.e. of gods, and Sleipnir of horses, Jóa. Bílrost, or Bifrost, of bridges, and Bragi of poets, Hóbrók of hawks, and Garmur of dogs. Many of these have been discussed in various different videos, so I won't tarry over the exact identities of these beings. And in the next installment, possibly the final installment, it would make sense to do all as one. We're going to get into the parts where Odin or Grímnir reveals all of his names, and I'm going to try to actually to give you the meanings of as many of those as I can. So that will have to wait, as there will be quite a bit of prep and post work that's going to go into that one. And for this one, you get a little bit more of the mythic world info that Grímnismál is so well known for. Although, of course, it's probably best known for Odin's names. I hope if you enjoy these videos or find them informative that you'll consider looking at and possibly donating to my Patreon, where you can make a recurring monthly donation of as little as $1, which helps me out a lot. And we've also built a great community on Patreon and with the associated Discord forum that's been built up by my Patreon fans. And I also hope that you'll take a look at my own modern English translation of Grímnismál that appears in my translation of the Poetic Edda, published in 2015 by Hackett Publishing Company. And perhaps also it's in my other translations, such as of the Saga of the Volsungs, and my forthcoming translations of the Saga of Hervor and Haetheric, Saga of Hrolf Kraki, which will go in one book, and also of the Prose Edda eventually. For now, from beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.